Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's meditation session. Thank you for being here tonight to spend the next 1 hour together, to look at the mind together, to explore the mind together. Most time of the day, we are carried away by the thoughts, by the mind itself. Rarely do we have the chance to sit down, to look at it. To look at the mind without being an observer. Without me, without I, to look at the mind. The very way to look at the mind without being an observer is the whole process of meditation. No matter where you are from, where you are now, no matter how busy you were for the whole day, can we quieten the mind first? Moving your focus from the content of thoughts back to the sensation of the body. It can be the breath, can be the belly, legs, back. Can you feel it? Feel that part. Feel the sensation without acting as the observer. So, before we start today's session, let's keep silent for 3 or 4 minutes. As usual, you can focus on the sensation of the body, or just simply, subtly, gently reflect how many moments of the day you were not present. So, today, let's talk about passion. A very beautiful word to many people. People want to find passion in life. But it is also a very tricky topic to go over together. Why it's tricky? Because we have associated too many illusions, too many images with this word, passion. Unless we go through all the illusions about it, we couldn't really understand what is passion. Another reason why it's tricky to talk about this is also because the language. Actually, very similar to the first reason. Let's bring the awareness back to this space. Holding the awareness that the language is very limited. In talking about this, though we are trying to verbalize it, let's just come back to the language first, the semantics. To my very limited knowledge about the Western language, it seems that passion, this word, exists in many different European languages. So here, in the whereby we have a lot of internationals. If some of us is eager to share the meaning of passion in his or her language, please do it now. Maybe we can start from Bob. Is there any special associations with passion, passia, right? In Dutch.
Yeah, sorry. What comes to my mind is, the passion as it exists in our language as the passion of Christ, for instance, during Easter, and of course, the word passion means that you wholeheartedly commit yourself to to a certain experience or endeavor. But I'm not 100% sure if that is a comprehensive explanation.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Maybe Anna, can you share something about passion in your language, Spanish?
I think it's very similar to what Bob has said. So you give yourself to something because you feel the need to do it. therefore you want to do it, and this brings some emotional reward, I would say.
I see. Oh, thank you, Anna. Joyce, maybe you can share something about passion in Chinese. I mean, in English, but talking about the Chinese language.
So passion in Chinese has two translations. It's similar in some ways. So one is called 热情. It means your emotion is heated. And the other one is 激情. It means your emotion is splashing, right? And with a very fast, quick, strong power out of your heart.
Great. Thank you for everybody sharing the meaning of passion in their language. It's hard to discuss it because, all these kind of mental images related to passion. That one of the image that can be very dominant is that one could commit oneself to something fully and keep doing it and keep getting fun and deriving pleasure from it all the time. So we call that passion. I don't know whether it's right or wrong. It's up to everybody to judge, to feel from their perspective. But today, let's look at passion from the perspective. Oh, if we still want to call it perspective, maybe it's unfair to call that mindfulness or meditation or the mind. The first question we can reflect is that passion imaginable or not? It seems that we tend to imagine the passion in all kinds of ways. Then we have that mental image on the mind, which forms the ideal. And if they want, then we have the desire to bridge what is with that ideal. And the whole process is called pursuing passion. Looking for passion, seeking passion, or whatever you call it. Of course, this process must be very controversial, full of conflicts, struggle, efforts. Because we want to seek the passion which corresponds to a mental image that we have had about that word. So this situation may give us some challenge in understanding passion, which is a state beyond our thoughts. When we are living in thoughts, as you can feel, everyone, right? These reactions to thoughts just keeps trapping everybody. The desire, the motivation the end motives are just mere the consequence of the reaction to thoughts, is it? How can one motivate oneself? Isn't it just some reactions to thoughts to make one excited? If one is motivated or one has an end in doing something, one has nothing to do with passion. What's that? Because one is motivated, which means some reaction to thoughts. And then what's the nature of thoughts? Changeable, right? How can you motivate by something which is always changing to keep you doing something, to keep you doing one thing all the time?
You can formulate a goal, a kind of framework within you operate and about which your thoughts are changing many times. But so the goal is constant and the thoughts are changing.
Thank you for Bob adding to this talk. But Bob mentions a very good concept, which is mental construct. That we want to try to use some kind of mental construct to make the thoughts less changeable. Is it? Because this construct, is a complex of thoughts, ideas, ideologies. So it seems that because these thoughts are less changeable, and also because this, we forget they are still thoughts. This part, the mental construct, becomes a culture, becomes over-conditioning. And we always think in a framework, judge within a framework. With that framework, it's always keep people going all the time. Look at like here in the Netherlands, look at the most people's life. They are working under this mental construct. Maybe can we call them, they are people full of passion. Can we call them that in that way? Oh, the society is full of people who are very passionate. Can we see that?
I would say people are differing in all their passions.
So, in this mental construct, people can still doing things repeatedly. Not that repetition, but regularly, and it's also in a pattern. But there's a fact. That's an observation. We can notice that. It's not people doing something similar to passion, but people are not very, very happy. Or people are not happy. It seems that they are kidnapped by something unspeakable. Their life keeps moving.
Maybe it has to do something which you could call fate, that people think I'm doing this and I need to do this because this is my existence, and it can be pleasurable sometimes it can be very hard to endure, but that's what passion is.
So when we create this mental construct, as Bob said, the framework, the rules, whatever, it seems that this framework keeps people doing. But at some time, we should notice that this mental construct is still thoughts. Within this mental construct, people are kidnapped not by the fate, but by the reactions to this complex of thoughts. But at the same time, everyone's mind is changing. Everyone has their own thoughts, feelings. And this common mental construct can become a cage when people find it difficult to fit themselves in with this. At the same time, they have to keep doing this out of fear about insecure, out of fear of being empty, as you can imagine here. So, unfortunately, those people have nothing to do with passion, because this common mental construct, all kinds of thoughts, can't really make people do things happily, joyfully. So, talking up to now, we may have found that it might be not plausible to find passion within thoughts.
Are you saying that if it's not joyful, there is no passion?
It can be tricky now to talk about this in languages, but tentatively, I would say, if you have passion for something, will you feel miserable? No, right? If you have passion and you feel miserable, well, is that passion, right? So we look at it, the passion, right? When somebody is passionate, it must be in a state borders on joy, borders on happiness, of course, which is really beyond language. No conflicts. Full of actions, not reactions. So, to have passion, probably we need to understand the whole structure of thoughts. Then we work out of thoughts. Saying goodbye to all kinds of reactions to thoughts, which of course requires each of us to adjust the mind by observing it at each moment. Then, without being surrounded by thoughts, illusions, mental images, we could see ourselves clearly, see who we are clearly. Of course, this whole process is called meditation. And then, in that very state, free from the attachment to thoughts, free from all kinds of motivations, no directions, no motives, there's a passion, there's love, there's compassion. People always want to find passion to do a particular thing. I'm sorry. That's an illusion. If you really want to do a particular thing, that's your end, which must be the reaction to some thoughts, some mental images. And you might be very interested in doing this for 3 months. After that, probably your interest in that just diminishes. That's not passion. And that's a fact that our interest, spurred by some thoughts, can only last a while. It's a fact. Nothing to complain. Yeah, Bob?
Cico, there are perhaps examples of people who are passionate about old British racing cars, for instance, and you have a gentleman in United Kingdom who likes those cars, who has 20 of them, who's also rich enough for that. And during his whole life, he's dedicated to maintaining the cars and go to all kinds of societies to meet like-minded people. And that's a lifelong passion. But I agree, it's external source. I mean, if there is a war or something, he loses all his money, he cannot maintain that. That means the end of the passion.
So thank you for Bob sharing a very good example, the counter example to show what is passion not. This one looks very similar to passion. Wow, I really want to have that person. I want to be that person, to have that passion to keep doing my hobby all the time. It's a very complicated process, to be honest. To enjoying, playing with its kind of very old British racing car or whatever. The one has to commit oneself to a community, to people, to a similar mind, the like-minded people, to motivate each other, to stimulate each other.
Maybe a better example is also academic life for some people who are very dedicated to the field of of their dedication, and they want to pursue that, research things. They have preferences, so it means there are also limits, and they will be disappointed, or there will be a lot of obstructions, and sometimes he or she will be successful. That's I think something that you see quite a lot, or you can think of many examples.
Oh, thank you for Bob sharing another example, another counterexample to show what passion is not. These two examples are very misleading. Easy to influence people wrongly. For this phenomenon, it happens, right? So that's what most people do actually, or want to do in life. Try to limit the circle to a few people, to have environments which is mostly cut off from the general environment. And they try to keep their mind up by limiting the resources to the things around them. But I have to tell you, everybody, they seem to be happy. But it's different from the fact that they are not really happy. They hope by doing this to keep themselves happy, which is also, to be honest, illusion. But in their life, many moments, they are suffering, but they won't tell you about that. It seems to be very private. But actually, when we understand how the mind works, everybody will know that. In that way, for some people who is lucky to have mind simple enough and get the mind distorted properly, then it is possible for that people to run in that lifestyle. But it's not something we can achieve on purpose. It's only belong to some people who is very lucky to have that kind of neuron cells running there. But that has nothing to do with passion. To do that, for a lot of people who are doing academic stuff, why they keep doing this? Not because passion, also because the fear, anxiety. Fear from being insecure. That's why they could not really move forward and keep just trap themselves in such a small world, which we called specialization, over specialization. So it's difficult to go into these examples because most people might be influenced first without going further to really reveal or disclose all kinds of mental chaos behind these two examples. So again, this example can trigger a lot of similar mental images on some people's mind, but it is an illusion. For those people who are lucky doing this, it's like a lottery. And they have to distort the mind in a way to be indifferent to many other things. But even they are doing that, they could not really get rid of the fear, the anxiety in life. Anna?
Yeah. So I have a lot of ideas. I will say, like, you coming here and doing these sessions every week is done out of passion, first of all. And then my second question is how to get rid of the fear in general and anxiety when you want to do something, but it's something new. You feel that is something inside you that push you to change or to do it, but then your entire life and environment is kind of saying that is not such a good idea. So these two questions.
Thank you for Anna sharing these two questions with us. For the first question, yeah, it's tricky to answer it. But, organizing this session is also based on some thoughts I have had about how to influence this world little by little. It can be a thought, can be an illusion, to be honest. But for each session we are doing here, why we can do this repeatedly, regularly?
Because we meditate.
Because this event is not motivated by some ideas. We just let it happen. But actually, I don't really invest a lot of time or energy. Not necessarily energy, but not a lot of thinking about each session. Everything we are talking about here is pure improvised. Joyce and I finished dinner 7 minutes before 7 o'clock. And I just turn on the PC and we spend 5 minutes setting up the recorder, the light, the microphone. And then now I just started talking. So for this very specific talk, I have no purpose. But for the general organization of this part, I have the purpose, which is a thought, which I have put down into my notebook. Then I let go of it. I just keep doing this, and we just keep doing together, exploring the mind. I don't know whether it's special or not. Maybe yes, maybe no. But every time I'm doing this, I'm very happy. Extremely happy. Also very calm. It's a joy to talking about facts, talking about the truth. So I hope this simple verbalization answers the first question from Anna. The second one is about the fear, right? How to overcome the fear. The answer can be very simple, but also can be a little tricky. Maybe also a little complicated. So I will start with the very simple one. Fear only comes from thoughts, from your reaction to thoughts. There's no other way leading to fear. I mean, psychologically, there's no other ways to leading to give you fear. Only when you have thoughts and you react to thoughts, fear arises. You don't have to analyze each thought. The very way to analyze the thoughts actually puts you into the danger, a great danger of the reaction to thoughts. So the simple answer is walk out of thoughts instantly, at each moment. It does not mean that you have no thoughts, but it means that you are free from the attachment to thoughts. To be aware of the thoughts all the time, to be able to aware of the reactions to thoughts. This is an ongoing work at each moment. You can't say that, oh yeah, now I overcome the fear now, then I have no fear forever, for life. There's no such a situation at all. It's another illusion, actually, right? The truth is always at this moment. That's a very important message to everybody. The truth is always at each moment. Now. So that's the tricky part, talking about working out of thoughts, the reactions, because for people think that, oh yeah, if I have to be aware of the thoughts at each minute, oh yeah, it must be very troublesome. I need to have a lot of efforts. Notice that it's another thought, another illusion. Not that case at all. It might consume some energy to be aware of thoughts. But when you work out thoughts, you save much more energy than you can assume in being aware of the thoughts. When the mind is churning, it consumes most of the energies of your life.
Cico, can you say that it is that it's not so much a lot of effort to be mindful, but that it is a habit?
It's really depending on the language. For now, we can just use habits. Yes, we can make it a habit, but this word can give us a lot of misunderstanding. So, but let's skip it now. Just use habit this time for this conversation. Yes, so we can. But it's something you do at each minute. So it's still a little different from habit. Because for most of our habits, we are not aware of. But now we are aware of the thoughts at each minute. But definitely, by practicing like meditation, we can find it's easier to do this. So it's also very similar to habits. So that's the tricky part, talking about overcome the fear. There's another part which seems to be complicated. Is that how can we recognize thoughts in life? If we could not recognize thoughts, there's nothing we can be aware of. For lots of things, about your work, about your life, about your family, about the study, about those things, this kind of thoughts is fairly easy to be recognized, right? And people may think, oh yeah, it's easy. I can be aware of these thoughts. But there are also some very deep-rooted thoughts, like the assumptions, a lot of conditionings. As we mentioned in the beginning of the session, the mental construct. And that
your belief system is as well a thought. Would you consider your values as a thought as well?
Yes, they are purely thoughts. And I think so we have witnessed that the failure of the belief systems. Only a few people who is lucky enough to be able to distort the mind properly, to running in a loop, which seems to be passion, as similar to the examples mentioned by Bob. But for most people, Bob?
Sorry, Amma, but what was your last question?
Mine. Yeah, I was asking if the belief systems and your core values or your ethics might be considered as a thoughts as well. And then Cico said yes.
It's not to deny it. It's not to deny the faith, the belief system, the values. But we need to look at what is. There are some thoughts. And they are also in the illusion that we can find order from thoughts to end the disorder of the mind. That's why that's the fundamental motivation to have the belief system, to have all kinds of values, in the hope of ending the chaos on the mind. But as everyone like you, everybody who has gone through all the life experience, you might have noticed that thoughts only breed chaos, only breeds disorder. And for some people who seem to be very entertaining or reveling in the belief system, when I talk to him or her, he or she is always talking about God all the time, which is making me impossible to talk to him, because in his every sentence there's a God. So if he's happy, I'm very happy about that. But for most of us, we couldn't be that, because it requires a lot of luck to mold the mind in that shape. So the discussion we have had now does not point to that we should not have thoughts. The generation of thoughts is a part of the neurons, which is the hard fact about the mind. In the very denial of this creates another illusion. But seeing the fact, one should negate the thoughts totally, the function of thoughts on the mind. So we still have thoughts, but we know that thoughts are unimportant, the content of which is very, very unimportant. And all of troubles comes from over-attraction to the content of thoughts, which leads to all kinds of reactions. To be mindful, or to practice mindfulness, actually we train the mind to be disinterested in the content of thoughts, but be aware of all kinds of mental actions behind it. As we have mentioned in the past few sessions, mental actions means like comparing, attachment, judging, association, interpretation. You name it. To be aware, there's mental actions behind the thoughts. Then there's a different dimension of life, untapped by anything before. In that dimension, which is of course unimaginable, because anything we can imagine is still thoughts. There's what we call compassion and passion. It's never mean a particular thing. If you have passion, no matter what you do, what you choose to do, you are always doing it with full passion. And life become a joyful journey because you enjoy doing what you are doing at each moment.
Okay.
Then that's the passion. Also, the compassion for everyone who is suffering. So if we think we always want to do something particularly, there's a strong sense of exclusiveness. That exclusiveness is a combination of all kinds of thoughts to refuse, to resist. It must be in the domain of thoughts, which has nothing to do with passion. Like we love somebody particularly, we hate somebody particularly. Oh, I can't imagine one can hate everyone, but it must be someone who do that unbelievably. But as long as we have these kind of thoughts about being particular, there's always an element of self there. And self, of course, is the combination of all kinds of mental images, thoughts. Only leads to all kinds of chaos. Don't forget, the self is the only source of all kinds of mental challenges and conflicts. Anything to comment or to share? If not, let's meditate for 10 minutes before we end today's session. It's a long talk, it's a long conversation, it's a long exploration. It's time to empty the mind. So now, let's follow the audio guide to meditate, and see you everybody in a few minutes. Now, let's take a 10-minute meditation. Start by taking a moment to find a comfortable position to sit in a posture that you feel relaxed and get alert. Let hands rest on your knees or laps. Let the eyes close gently. Soften your forehead. Act a soft smile in the corner of your lips. Breathe naturally. As you breathe in, be aware that you are breathing in. Feel the sensation of breathing in. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. As you breathe out, be aware that you are breathing out. Feel the sensation of breathing out. The region can be the nostrils, can be the belly, can be anywhere. Focus on the part you feel most. Fix your attention on the breath. Let go of any thought, words, images. This moment, nothing is more important than breath. While you are listening to the bell, check where your attention is. If it wasn't on the breath, after the bell, gently invite your attention back to the breath and sustain your attention on the breath. Slowly bring your awareness back to this room. Feel into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes. When you are ready, open your eyes. Great. I hope everybody has calmed down somewhat. You see how tricky it is to explore the mind. That conversation can easily turn into some thoughts, mental images, which in reverse blocks the understanding of the mind. Go beyond the language. Observe it yourself. That is the only way to truly understand all of this. Enjoy each minute of the life. In that very enjoyment, that's the passion of life. Where is the passion? Passion is now. Now is the passion. So, if you still want to do a particular thing with passion, yes, it is possible. But it is only possible when the particular thing is to live life. So I hope everybody could commit themselves to this very special, but also a particular thing, living a life. Great. That's all for today's session, talking about passion. This is a topic suggested by Anna. And I'm happy that we explore this together to look at the mind. And in the end, I still hope everyone has a good week ahead. Be aware of the thoughts. Working out thoughts. There's a beauty which is beyond your imagination. That beauty is life. And Bob?
I wanted to say thank you again, Cico. It was a wonderful session. I wish every one of you a good week, happy week, and yeah, maybe see each other next week.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, everybody. And I hope we can see each other again in the future sessions.
Thank you very much. It was great. Thank you.
So that's it. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye, Joyce. Bye, Anna.